Good to see you, gamers. Shep here from Gaming Introspection. What was the highlight of Nintendo's Switch 2 Direct for you? There is tons to unpack here, so let's not waste any time. We can't anyway, because this damn thing is coming out in less than 2 months. So why is this here? Well, I'm just surprised. Very pleasantly surprised. The GameCube tier of games, added to Nintendo's online catalog, almost make the sky-high rising costs of new hardware and software justifiable. Notice the almost. I always try to be optimistic, but I wasn't that optimistic to think that Nintendo would make its GameCube library available day one as an online virtual console option, akin to the NES, SNES, and N64 libraries of games past. This is a huge deal. Nintendo loves re-releasing its games, like these HD Wii U versions of Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, two awesome GameCube titles. Thing is, they typically re-release these at full price, so they're getting tons of profit on every dollar. Like Donkey Kong Country Returns. That was released 3 damn times, at $70 each. But the trailer clearly confirms that Wind Waker is one of the very first GameCube games on the table. Now, is this new GameCube-featured Switch Online going to be more expensive than ever before? Well, absolutely. Let's assume the worst, and that the monthly price doubles its $50 US price tag to $100 per year, with the addition of the GameCube tier of games. That would still be under $10 a month to infinitely play a large collection of games that were over $50, both in their original forms and in re-releases. With more promise down the pipeline in the future, in my eyes, this is a huge value proposition for older gamers like myself who have long wanted a modern way to replay what is a smaller but very high quality Nintendo library. I have many GameCube titles that I would love to explore on the channel someday, including this treasure, Eternal Darkness, the first M-rated Nintendo published game, which is an extremely underrated horror title that still has no equal to its originality and time travel design. What GameCube games do you hope make the early jump to the Switch 2? Besides the classics like F-Zero GX and Luigi's Mansion that are already confirmed. What it comes down to is this. The Switch 2 online catalog has GameCube, and Switch 1, even if it did continue to be supported, does not. That is a huge upgrade incentive. It's not perfect. We can already see that. Is anyone else just perturbed and disgusted by these obviously still intact borders on the edges? This was already annoying, even for classic NES and SNES games on the old Switch. But for a GameCube system, which had several games that offered widescreen support, this is beyond archaic and annoying. I am baffled at how Nintendo's Direct promises better quality visuals and resolutions, when these charming titles of old are squished into what is a 4:3 aspect ratio. This unsettles me and tempers my excitement just a bit. Still, when you couple in the painless transfer of all your old Switch library to the Switch 2 and this extra catalog, replacing your console just feels like the best option. What did you think? The GameCube edition is really what sells the system to me, but that's simply because I'm old. Are you younger gamers out there as thrilled with this? Please let me know, as there is a world of difference in our ages. Speaking of worlds, let's take a look in depth at the first big new world Nintendo has brought to us. We can justifiably argue with Nintendo over several Switch 2 points, but what we can't do is accuse them of not trying something different with Mario Kart. This is a smart launch title for several reasons. First, this is the initial real showcase of power for the Switch 2. Even the 24 racer congestion alone would have been next to impossible for the original Switch to run smoothly. But the fact that you can gallivant the globe, find hidden secrets, burn off stress, and do wheelies as a cow. What the bloody hell? Oh, Jesus! Why? Who is demanding this character? It's utterly ridiculous!
Anyway, the pure scope of some of these areas gives the impression of a Mario Kart blended with, like, Breath of the Wild. The better specs enable varying weather conditions, a la Gran Turismo, like rain and time of day changes, according to the trailer, which impact the road safety and visuals. Add to this riding underneath or over top of dinosaurs, multiple heavy traffic areas, glimpses of interactable P-blocks amidst foes like the piranha plants. This is definitely brand new territory in the now 30-year-old series. There are players who are absolutely going to dig the free roam mode and enjoy finding every little secret, new route, and Easter egg for hours on end. And there's also players who aren't going to devote even 5 minutes to any of that, who are all about the racing, which has new mechanics in it, like grinding on guardrails, building up power charges, and then transitioning onto a wall grind for extra speed boosts. But it looks like, with the gracious amount of modes in play, Mario Kart World has the potential to keep the core Mario Kart players happy, while bringing in a whole new audience. Maybe those who enjoyed the more free-roaming options of the Forza Horizon series, for example. For the purists, the knockout mode looks incredible. It's like the most intense, hair-trigger reflex and exciting multiplayer in Mario Kart history, with the checkpoints being increasingly harsh, narrowing down the field 4 racers at a time, making full use of the extra player capacity. This could get addicting, almost to Fortnite levels, I would wager. The sheer size, player count, and vastness is a great showcase for the Switch 2.
This could not have been done on the old hardware. And that's exactly what a launch title should possess in order to entice potential buyers. But buying requires money. Nintendo wants us to part with a lot of that money. So does its feature set justify it?
So, for now, Nintendo has priced the Switch 2 at pretty much what many expected, at $450, or $500 if you want a slight discount on a digital version of Mario Kart World. It's smart from a business standpoint. With tariffs and trumps and tremendous difficulties hitting everywhere at once, it seems, Nintendo wants to make sure they turn a profit quickly. If they stick with this price, they can still make the truthful claim that, hey, it's $50 less than a PS5, which came out 5 years ago, but regardless, it is still cheaper.
And with the portability factor, for my money, it's acceptable. That's it. I'm not going to say it's a great deal or gush with Nintendo fanboyism, it's just that we expected an increase with all the factors at play. And if it stays at $450, it's about what we expected.
Although, now pre-orders are stalled, which puts even more pressure on Nintendo, as it looks like they may want to extol even more of our funds.
I know. I'm worried too. I know. Let's revert back to our childhood strategies. We'll pretend everything is just fine, and we'll amuse ourselves with looking at the controllers and other features. Happy, happy, safe at home.
The C button reveal was pretty anticlimactic. Again, many gamers predicted the C standing for chat, and that's exactly what it does. And it's everywhere. It's on the Joy-Con, it's on the newly revealed Pro Controller, which looks absolutely mint, by the way. I love the extra heft, button size, and customization it seems to exude. And the chat button is even on the GameCube controller version, which I am positive many from my millennial generation will be picking up as soon as they can.
Speaking of controllers, one awesome piece of news is that the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller is going to be fully compatible with the Switch 2.
I was happy to read this on Nintendo's official website, and especially as a Canadian, an extra set of Joy-Cons or the new Pro Controller will literally run me over $100 each. But getting back to the chat button feature, I appreciated that Nintendo didn't try to paint it as something more than it is. Like seeing everyone's gameplay down below, it's a bit choppy and lower res, which is what the reality would be. And if you've got the right social group all equipped with the Switch 2, given Nintendo's stellar multiplayer reputation, maybe setups like this will be a commonality. But there's definitely a gimmick feel to all of this. Do we really need to see each other's awkward facial expressions in Mario Party games? Is it essential for us to have all these screens of our friends down below? Which I'd argue either take away a lot of your own screen's real estate, or are too small to make it really worthwhile seeing what your friends are playing. I mean, how many of us are going to check in and size up that screen while we're still playing our own game? I don't think many will be drooling over these features, but hey, you may think differently.
Regardless, at least we've come a long way since the Wii days. Remember friend codes? Nintendo was so paranoid about the evils of online chat.
They made us make an account and sign into games like Smash Bros. Brawl in the most asinine, non-user-friendly way possible, making us swap codes that were longer than NES passwords with others just to play a match. And there's no more dumb Nintendo Switch voice chat app on the phone either. It's just a button. That's much better.
It only took Nintendo 20 years to realize that the internet could be used for social gaming. Whoa.
I'm thrilled for the strategy game fans out there, since the mouse features of the Joy-Con seem perfect for games like Civilization 7. I'm sure there's shooters that'll benefit too, but this wheelchair basketball game, oh, it just looks like the most pathetic attempt of mouse control gushing I've ever seen. It looks like an undercooked, unfinished Wii Sports entry that got left on the cutting room floor with gimmick written all over it. Sad. If we look at the console itself, the extra screen real estate is a noticeable upgrade. Hopefully, we're all sighing in relief with the supported 4K screen resolution confirmed. It looks like, while not all games will do this natively, the Switch 2 has the power to at least upscale visuals to look better than HD. The 120 frames per second also surprised me a bit, even if that's restricted to 1080p. It kinda has those same performance versus fidelity caveats as the OG PS5 came with. But for the Switch 2 to have similar options as a PS5, this is probably reassuring to some third parties in particular, who are wondering about the power under the hood, which the only specifics we're given is from NVIDIA, saying it's roughly 10 times more powerful than the OG Switch. While the Big N claims the LCD screen to be much more vibrant since it's now HDR compatible, as many of us thought, it's still just LCD. No way would an OLED screen be doable at $450. There is a new concern though with battery life, with the extra resolution and vibrancy. IGN spec sheet of 2 to 6.5 hours is more than a little worrisome for those who are looking forward to a long road trip without having to interrupt it with a charge pack.
As for the release date, again, I think Nintendo made a wise choice here.
Early summer is perfect for the younger audience who wants a brand new Nintendo system just in time for the summer holidays. Parents can get one knowing they'll have something to keep the kids quiet on a long vacation road trip, for example. Of course, it also allows Nintendo 6 months to build an install base and increase fervor of demand for the 2025 holiday season as well. They'll have no competition, unlike the days of old when PlayStation 2, GameCube, and Xbox giants duked it out in the fall of 2001.
When it comes to storing all of these new games, is 256 gigs acceptable in your opinion? Nintendo paints it as an absolute bargain compared to the original Switch storage.
We can't deny it's 8 times more than the original Switch, but games are inevitably going to be larger with the increased specs and resolutions. Still, I doubt they'll be 8 times larger, especially the Nintendo-produced ones. So the Big N does get some credit for at least having passable storage at the outset. Should allow for at least twice as much space, all things considered. Let's take a gander at what games will be competing for those gigabytes in the first wave of Switch 2 games. We get some interesting and not so interesting reveals of upcoming software from many different publishers. Nintendo is definitely trying to draw in fans from many different genres and tastes. Capcom has promised Street Fighter 6 for the fighting game fans, and more mature games like the Hitman series, and a brand new James Bond game, the teaser of which just made me yearn for as fun of a multiplayer experience as GoldenEye was. Remember GoldenEye? Nah, you're too young, you don't know what GoldenEye is. Square Enix confirmed Final Fantasy VII Remake, but they didn't go so far as to confirm Rebirth, so I'm curious what this says about the hardware specs of the Switch 2.
If the Switch 2 can't even handle a slightly diminished port of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, what does that say about future third-party titles? Right now, the names and support seem to be there, but will the ports of the games be as good to play and as eye-pleasing?
The most bizarre reveal, to me, was the Duskbloods introduction.
As you know, branding is super important. What's a great way we can wrap up this lighthearted, fancy-free Nintendo Switch 2 Direct? Let's show off this corpse. What? Oh yeah, just this dead corpse slouched over in a chair. So nothing happens then, since it's a dead guy. Not for a while. No. But eventually...
Oh, yeah, the hand of this random narration woman, who's otherwise out of frame, just slowly rises her hand up and grabs the dead guy's hand, which will then take about 20 seconds to happen, because she has to talk quite a bit.
And that brings him back to life.
Oh, no, the guy's still dead, but he's got this sick tattoo on his hand now.
Oh, so that woman you mentioned, well, she's gonna be really important then.
Oh no, dude, she dies immediately after giving him that sick tattoo. Because, it was all her power.
What?
Yeah.
You're an idiot.
It's apparently related to the very popular and similarly dark and gruesome Bloodborne series, but despite the cinematic reveal making it look like an epic one-player narrative, it's mostly a multiplayer versus experience, with some seriously creepy imagery and enemies. I don't have much familiarity, and given that it's multiplayer heavy, it's not my cup of tea anyway, but I'm sure there are fans out there excited for this one too. Taking it all together, Nintendo definitely seems to have third-party interest, funding, and support, which typically happens when you're coming off finishing up the life cycle of the second most best-selling console in history. While new Zelda is a no-show, there is a new Hyrule Warriors style game that will tide us over. I'm hopeful the better specs will at least give Nintendo a larger access to some AAA titles. Just don't hold your breath for Grand Theft Auto 6 running at 15 frames per second in 720p just to say it can exist on a Nintendo console. That is not happening.
So, no Smash Brothers then? The Nintendo Direct ended with an absolute thud for me. Not gonna lie.
Kirby's fine. I'm sure he's got a decently sized fan base, but, well, I'm not a fan myself. And it's another racer. The GameCube original definitely was, and while I'm sure it has a completely unique mechanic, style, and experience compared to Mario Kart, it just feels instantly dwarfed by the epic launch title, especially since it's the same genre. And given how a brand new Smash, in Sakurai's words, likely can't be done without his involvement, this means we're out of luck. In limbo, he's directing this new Kirby racer. There's your proof right there. This is his baby now.
Which means either the new Smash Brothers is likely years away, or Nintendo is right now prepping a Nintendo Switch 2 version of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, as we speak, which will probably be released either this holiday season or in 2026 to keep the money rolling in. This does sadden me. Not even a hint of Smash Brothers at all.
Speaking of this, no Mario either? I get it. They can't release the next brand new 3D Mario at the same time as the next brand new Mario Kart. That wouldn't make any sense as a business strategy or for gamers. They need to spread things out. And in its place, we get a brand new 3D Donkey Kong game.
It's weird. The most recent Donkey Kong games have been reminiscent of Donkey Kong Country, traditional 2D side-scrollers, like Tropical Freeze and Donkey Kong Country Returns.
In fact, this is the first 3D Donkey Kong game since way back in 1999! I should be more excited about this. Maybe it's DK's lame design. Looks like they took Wreck-It Ralph and gave him fur. But while there's cool details in the world building, and new platform mechanics like effortlessly punching through any landform to make tunnels, and creating makeshift bludgeoning boulder weapons, the whole thing just seems mid to me.
Do kids still say that word? Mid?
Donkey Kong is a strong first-party franchise, but still, Nintendo systems without a new mainline Mario, it just feels like there's something missing. Switch had Mario Odyssey, at least very soon after launch. N64 obviously had Mario 64, but GameCube had Mario Sunshine less than a year after the system. So maybe it's going to be teased closer to the holiday season. It's been 8 years since Mario Odyssey. He's never gone that long between his next true entry before, which is bizarre to even comprehend.
All in all, yes, if you are a hardcore Nintendo fan, prepare to have your wallet feel considerably lighter this summer. For me, I'm just excited for the GameCube possibilities. That alone makes Nintendo Switch 2 an early purchase for me. But what about you? Did Mario Kart World do enough to convince you to be an early adopter? Is $80 going to be the new normal, as Nintendo wants to establish in a world of crumbling economies? Let's share our excitement and concerns together. Hey gamers, thanks so much for tuning in to Gaming Introspection. It's always good to see ya. So take care. Let's look forward to June 5th.